Hello and welcome to Anatomy of Us, a show dedicated to bringing real help to real couples. I'm your host, Melanie Studley.
What's up, guys? My name is Seth Studley. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and together we are high-performance marriage coaches.
We are cutting through the bullcrap and creating a movement of happy, healthy, badass couples all over the world.
Let's go!
Hello and welcome to Anatomy of Us. I'm your host, Melanie Studley.
What's up, guys? I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. My name is Seth Studley. Welcome to the show, and welcome back, FOOvember.
We're bringing back the FOO.
We're bringing back the FOO, and we do it in November and December because obviously the holidays, you're going to be spending more time with the family. You might be around people you don't like. You might be around people that you haven't gotten along with in the past. And in order to make it not a bigger S show than it is, we are giving you some helpful education, tips, tools, and real instances of ways that you can improve your level of differentiation in your FOO. So
we love family of origin, so that's what FOO stands for, family of origin.
Yes.
But yeah, we're bringing it back. It's exciting, and like Seth said, we do this so that the holiday seasons, like swinging around into the new year, can be less chaotic around family. And as you grow in your own sort of like personal development world, the FOO has a huge impact on that. So we like to share about it and all that jazz. So today we're going to do a bunch of sharing and information sharing as we sort of like push out the boat of FOO into the lake.
The gravy boat.
The gravy boat. I was actually thinking of like the Lord of the Rings elves.
Ooh, okay. Pushing it out. Right. So what we're going to do, I have 8 things to talk about this time, right? We're going to recap what family of origin is. These are a lot of like psychological, systemic family therapy terms. You know a lot about it, so I'm going to talk about it, give it a little preface, then we're going to have quick conversations around it. So, and you guys, check this out. The more that you learn about your family of origin will be the more you learn about yourself. The more you learn about yourself, the more you will learn about your marriage and how you present in your marriage. And there's undoubtedly going to be things that you need to work on, things you need to give grace to yourself and your spouse, and definitely ways that you can grow. So that's the hope here, to help you. We've been through it. We're going to help you go through it too. So, okay, Melanie, FOO definition. Can you read that, please? What is family of origin?
The family of origin is the family one grew up in, as opposed to the people one currently lives with. It's the place that people typically learn to become who they are. From the family of origin, a person learns how to communicate, process emotions, and get their needs met.
That's right. So, family of origin, the FOO, hereby, henceforth, this day on, called FOO. If you don't know what that means, look it up or re-listen to this episode. Okay, so let's just dive straight into, the family of origin is the university of relationships. It's how you learn to hold a fork. It's how you learn to cook. It's like, how do you talk to one another? How did you see your mom or dad, or like, even non-biological people in your family? Well, I guess that'd be biological, sorry. Interact with one another, How did your mom treat your dad? How did your dad treat your mom? How did dad talk to grandma? How did grandma talk to you as a grandkid?
Or not talk to you.
Or not talk to you, right? In some cases. And this is I'm super excited because we're going to dive even more into this in the upcoming episodes. But today, we're going to go over a couple of core tenets of family of origin as it pertains to systemic family therapy. Whew, that was a handful. Okay. Number 1, differentiation of self. If you didn't know anything and never heard the word differentiate, what do you think that would mean?
Slicing with a knife, butter, differentiated this side from that side.
Okay, to set apart then?
Separate.
To separate. Okay, so enter the term differentiation of self. And this is like definitions that I've amalgamated into one. It's a Sethinition.
You hath amalgamized?
I hath, yeah. So differentiation of self is the literal and basic cornerstone of healthy relationships. Most people, for the most part, are differentiated most of the time. Get that. Most people, for the most part, are differentiated most of the time. Differentiation is the capacity to think and reflect and not react poorly to emotional stressors, internally or externally. Differentiation is the ability to be sound-minded, balanced, and flexible, even in stressful situations. Undifferentiated people tend to be easily moved by emotions, driven mostly by the reactivity of those around them. Ooh, I know some people like that. He looks at me in the mirror every day. They have lower autonomous identity and are defined by what other people say about them. And again, as a therapist, hear these words that I'm saying. Most people fall somewhere in between this spectrum, right? There are times where we're highly differentiated. One can say we're responding to situations rather than reacting. And most people fall somewhere in between. And when stressed, can have moments of weakness or fall short, but quickly bounce back to their normal selves. In therapy, we call that returning to homeostasis kind of thing, right? I can have a tripping out moment, tripping balls, freak out, whatever, and then come back to normal, right? You get in trouble when
Is that healthy, you're saying? That's healthy to do?
Yeah,
Tripping
that's just a normal thing. It's like, okay, for the most part, my car starts and runs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless the battery is dead or unless there's no gas. And in those isolated incidences, what do? I do something to fix it. Buy a new battery, go to the gas station. See what I'm saying? And most people fall within that category. But if an example is like, okay, he's always tripping balls, she's always tripping balls, my car never runs, never starts, then we have a problem. Then we have to be open and be willing and able to look into it more deeply and to look at it from a different angle. Right?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't think you were like, didn't think that was like a question to me.
Okay, so again, we're just going to go over a couple bullet points, see where you identify.
I want to point out too that your list of undifferentiated people, I think, is really helpful to. I remember when you were saying it when we were taking notes the other day. Is like people who tend to be moved easily by emotions, driven mostly by reactivity of those around them. People with low autonomous identity. And are defined by what other people say about them. Like that was really helpful for me to hear. I had never really heard it set in those terms. So I just appreciate that.
Can you see yourself like going in and out of all of those things? I think most people can. Like, sometimes I can read that and go, oh, holy crap, that's me to a T, right? But it's not me most of the time. Right? We dip in and out of it, right? Okay, so we're going to go to... another tenet. It's called emotional fusion. What do you think that means without reading it?
Fusion, it sounds like some sort of atomic thing.
Sounds like an energy drink. Blackberry fusion.
It's got an alcohol base with a caffeine rush. Blackberry fusion.
Right. It's like the claw or something. What is it? White Claw? No law with the claw. Anyway, emotional fusion is a blurring of psychological boundaries between self and others and a contamination of emotional and intellectual functioning.
Is that an actual definition? What a weird definition. A contamination.
Yeah, it's just it's blurry.
This
it's
emotion
tainted.
has been contaminated.
This is contaminated. There's something in the punch. It's contaminated. Don't drink it.
A blurring of psychological boundaries between self and others, and a contamination of emotional and intellectual functioning. That's emotional fusion.
Right.
Where do you see emotional fusion taking place?
So emotional fusion, we're going to talk about it in a genogram episode, like being too closely tied with someone. That's also called fusion, right? Like you're fused. You don't know where you end and they begin and vice versa. Now, this isn't like some, throes of passion, a married couple or something like, I don't know, we're just so close. And it's like a father and son, a mother and son, a mother and daughter, a grandmother and grandkid, like they're too close.
It's like when you're saying you like a mom and a daughter, let's just say, they're so close that the daughter doesn't know, like, is that what I think? Or is that just what my mom thinks? And so now I think that. It's that. So that's what you're saying?
I am not.
It's like that. I. That song.
Is Ozzy? Crazy Train? Now it makes me think of that Mastermind. Megamind.
Yeah, that's the only way I know that song is that
funny.
movie.
Side note, my dad found a very expensive guitar in the middle of the road signed by Ozzy Osbourne's guitarist. When I was a kid, a very long time ago.
Weird.
I know, super. And we sold it for nothing. I wish I had that guitar. Could retire. Anyway, emotional fusion. Think about, and here is another thing about emotional fusion that we'll talk about later. On down the line, the people who have relationships who are emotionally fused, the kid, usually it's a child within a parent's dynamic, usually has the most maladaptive reactions because they're so closely fused. So when they try to break out and do their own thing, they feel like the stigma, they feel the judgment or whatnot from that parent because they're so close,
Right.
and then they don't separate.
And I want
we
to
can think of several people that we know, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And I want to say too that this emotional fusion is not the same thing as like, well, obviously, but like it's not that your parent like loves you so much and they're like they just want to like the best for you. Because I could see someone be like misunderstanding that and being like, but my mom just loves me or whatever.
That is how it presents.
Yeah.
And that is what is so nefarious about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it presents as that. I love, like, okay, think about this with a parent who has a drug affected son or daughter, right? Well, I just love them so much. I have to go save them every single time
Right.
because their actions reflect on me so heavily that I can't differentiate. You know what I'm saying? So think about, man, I just want to use so many examples, but it would like put a lot of people out. So I'm not gonna do that. But what was I saying? Oh, too close or fused.
Mm-hmm.
It's also based on this other idea of Eric Berne in transactional analysis, and he had this book or saying called the idea was I'm okay, you're okay, or if you're not okay, I'm not okay, kind of thing.
Right.
Like, oh, mom's mad, everybody either has to be mad or on edge or just like, this is weird, what's going on, right? So our emotions are blurred and fused with another person's. I can't be happy unless she's happy.
Right.
She's mad, I don't know what to do, kind of thing. You see, is that
Yeah,
making sense? Okay, so emotional fusion. All right, this one is a good one. Emotional triangles and triangulation, which we're going to dedicate an entire episode to. But just to give you a cursory overview, emotional triangles and triangulation equals a 3-person system, right? A triangle has 3 points, correct?
Aliens. Keep talking.
Oh boy.
Blurry creatures. Right. Triangles.
Triangles, yes. How did the pyramids get built? We don't know. Okay, emotional triangles and triangulation is the act of detouring conflict between two people by involving a third person or thing, stabilizing the relationship between the original pair. Think of it this way. Triangles are all over the place. Me and you, we're kind of drifting apart. Hashtag real life. No, I'm just kidding.
Cool. Okay, come on.
I'm just kidding. Okay, we're kind of, whatever, don't have much to talk about. Hey, what are the kids doing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, kid comes in. Okay, you instantly feel a relief. Think about when you are in an elevator with another person that you don't know. There's me, one other random dude. I don't know what's going on. You don't talk. And then somebody else comes in. You instantly feel relief, right? Because the third person takes away the stress, real or not real, of the two people, right? So I'll read that again. Detouring conflict between two people by involving a third person or thing, drugs and alcohol can be that thing, and stabilizing the relationship between the other pair. And I'm going to reframe that, maybe not stabilizing, because when I think of a stable relationship, it's like, okay, it's sturdy, it's solid, but the constant act of triangulation only, as a therapist, only tells me like, oh, wait a minute. Two people should be able to stand on their own.
It's like relieving the tension.
Right.
It's not stabilizing, but it takes the tension away. So let's give some examples of what triangles can be. Because we mentioned, like you and I were talking about it when we were making these notes. So it can be drug use or alcoholism. It can literally just be being obsessed with what your kids are doing. Like I can't just sit here and talk to you. We have to be talking about something else, like in a maladaptive way. Like we just talk about maybe we're, again, I like only want to use real examples that aren't helpful, but maybe we're like obsessed with the, news station and all we do is talk about the news. Or maybe we're obsessed with, like one of our parents and we only talk about them, or we only talk about schedules or only talk about work. Like it's a third thing that makes it so that we never have to actually just talk about us.
Right. And it happens all the time, right? In fact, I would say that it happens every single day. Now, does that mean because we're talking about a third thing?
It's Tully's coffee for you and me. We're just sitting with our espresso. Like that's how we triangulate.
Yeah.
It's this cup of...
Hey, that's a fine triangle for me.
I know, I'm good.
I'll do that triangle all day, right? But I don't want people to hear this and go, oh, great. If I talk about anything other than like real substantive stuff with my spouse or partner, then
I'm triangulating.
this marriage is a farce. I love it when you say that. It's so cute. You say it loud, like, go away from the microphone. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So again, if you find yourself always talking about other things, avoiding conflict, you might be finding yourself in a triangle, right? And this is really damaging. Like in family systems, if I make our sons or daughters like the third point because me and you aren't getting along or whatever, and go, hey, what are you doing? And then they feel smothered, and then I bring in emotional fusion in my own undifferentiated self. How do you think that's going to be healthy for the kid?
Yeah,
it's not.
You end up like you just have like a death grip on them because of how you are unhealthy in your relationship. So you just glom onto that kid, and like, well, they have to be here because if they're not, this is too weird. So that's why you think, empty nesters. And the second, all of a sudden your triangle points are gone and you're like, what the F?
Yeah.
I don't know how to do this.
Again, it's not like you can't talk about outside stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
you have to talk about outside stuff.
You have to talk. Yeah, obviously you have to talk about outside stuff. But if you find yourself talking about other people, other places, other things more than you and your spouse are having real conversations, you might have a problem. Okay. This is all tied together. That's why I love it so much. Okay. Nuclear. Did I say that right? Nuclear family emotional process. Your family of origin.
The NFEP?
And the NFEP. Nuclear family. So nuclear family.
You're like your
like
mom.
George Bush. I don't think he could say nuclear.
Nuclear.
I don't know if I'm saying it right.
Nuclear.
Nucleus.
Nucleus.
Nuclear family emotional process. Your family of origin and how they deal or not deal with emotional forces. Think about it this way. So nuclear family is like, okay, your family of origin. Who are you with all the time? The people that live in your household. How do you guys generally deal with? What are you doing? I can't read.
I'm looking up a definition.
How do you guys deal with anger, love, pain, grief, conflict, joy, sadness, or fear? Emotional things. What?
Relating to the nucleus. Sorry, I'm reading the definition of nuclear because I'm like, what does that even mean? Like
the nucleus of a cell.
Well,
Animal cells, plant cells. Remember that?
Thank you. I just was like, why is that the thing we say?
Okay,
like
so
the cell family.
The family emotional process. How you guys deal with emotional things. Do you talk about them? Do you triangulate? Right? And again, all these are terms like, okay, tell me some examples just in our own family. How do you guys deal with...
My family of origin?
Yeah, your family, then I'll talk about mine. How do you guys deal with conflict, anger, sadness, joy, love, pain? How do you generally deal with those things?
I think if you're talking about like, what's the word I was just going to say? So sadness or like a bad thing happening. What's the word for that?
Conflict?
Not conflict, but like something, get in a car accident.
Emotional pain?
I don't know. We deal with that stuff by like helping. Like you go, okay, where does the thing need to be done? You need to get the insurance. You need to have your car taken there. So it's like hands-on doing is how we would, the NFEP, nuclear family emotional process, is hands-on that way. Conflict, you don't deal with it because you don't create it. So you don't, there's never like, people in our family don't fight. They don't, they're like, I disagree with you. Zero happens.
Right.
It's just like,
so
I will say nothing to you.
That is a way of dealing with it.
No, yeah, I know. I know that.
Right. In my family dealing with conflict, we would
stay silent for 8 minutes, and at the 9th minute,
all hell breaks loose, and then at the 10th minute, you go, "Hey, I'm sorry," and then you pass the gravy. Seriously,
that's gonna be an episode we have the title for already. You're crazy. Please pass the gravy.
Right. Oh my gosh, that one's gonna be good because I'm gonna like dig into the vault of just craziness and.
But I think that
whatnot.
So let's go through other ones like. You're even saying your nuclear family emotional process. How does your nuclear family, so the family I came from, deal with love? Not really. You just don't. Like you kind of, you're just there. Like, well, I'll be there. I'm not going to say that I love you. I'm not going to like make sure you know, but I won't disappear entirely.
Right.
Is that the same thing? Right. So that's like my nuclear family, how they would deal with that.
Or how they deal with joy.
Yeah.
It's like
like you just,
it's kind of
it's like a wallflower. How a wallflower deals with anything is how my family deals with everything. You stand at the edge and go, while you watch other people dancing and you don't even like the punch because it tastes weird. And shout out to Y Robin, and your tag itches and the music is too loud.
Oh, boy. What is that? Highly sensitive people?
It's sensory.
Sensory stuff. Yeah. Okay. And my, like, usually joy and like celebration comes really easy in my family. It's
and happy, like
happiness. And happiness. You know, there is nothing better in this entire
I think love too.
Love. There's nothing better in my family than when my mom gets a wild crazy and just, you know, yells, you know, like she's spinning out or
like
something.
Like when she's turning a corner. Can you do it?
Or she's dancing and it's just having...
She'll do that when she turns a corner fast,
right, yeah.
and she'll pretend that the tires are squealing out. It's hilarious.
Yeah, that's just...
Or like
that's
even...
fun, right?
Like... She wants to try sushi and she's never had wasabi. She'll eat the most amount of wasabi God ever.
And then she'll laugh.
And she'll
about
die
it
laughing, and she'll be crying and laughing all at the same time. And I think even like your entire family is pretty good at that. Like your dad can be hilarious with it, and then your grandma too. Like she'll burst your eardrum with a kiss right in the old eardrum.
Yep.
She's happy for you.
So think about it. We're talking about this not just like telling about our family and what we like about them, and maybe things that can be that can be worked on. We bring this into this relationship, right?
Don't touch me. Just kidding.
Okay.
But I do want to highlight
Nuclear family emotional process.
That was the nerdiest diss ever. Nuclear family emotional process much? But like, I think of how absolutely opposite our nuclear family emotional processes are, right? So you've got Seth's family who's like, yeah, where's the sushi that I've never had? And bring on all the wasabi. I'm going to taste it. I'm going to laugh and cry and shout and scream and holler in the yard. And then we'll go go, you know, shoot an explosive target in the back pasture in the holler. And my family's like, I only want rice, please. And if it's salted, I'm just going to go to bed.
Salted rice. Like, if my rice is salted, I'm going to bed. I swear.
Not even, no. Oh, you would never be like, I'm going to. It's like, I'll see you later.
No, you would get up.
You actually wouldn't even say anything. You just get up and walk away.
Get up and leave. And then Irish goodbye.
Is that what that's called?
You told me.
I didn't.
You just leave.
I don't. If I told you that, it's news to me.
You told me that.
It's an Irish goodbye. I had a funny thought earlier that we should do ad reads with accents only, always.
I don't know.
For no
probably
reason.
Get in trouble for that. We're paying you money to read our ads. What the hell are you doing? You're not from Ireland. What
Visit betterhelp.com.
Unless we get an ad for Kerrygold butter, then I will.
Spread it on all your buns. Kerrygold, the saltiest butter on earth. Anyway, I'll stop offending everyone.
Okay, that's funny.
But I think it's interesting to say, like, our nuclear family emotional processes are very different, like really different. And so it is important to know this stuff, to know how to talk about these things and to see how they impact especially things around the holiday season, what you would expect a family to do, what you think would be normal to do. I mean, they really are foundational in your FOO.
Absolutely. You cannot escape these. You can't, unless that...
Oh, excuse me.
We are doing a world-famous podcast.
Anyway, go on to the next one.
Anyway, okay, so here is a long one. So, which one comes first? Nuclear family, right? And then second... we're going to look at the multi-generational transmission process, which is similar to the emotional process. And this one I'm going to read because I didn't want to write all these notes. So I'll do the Cliff's Notes. Okay, multi-generational. Think about it. You, your mom, your dad, your aunties, your grandpas, your grandmas, and further on. Like multi-generational transmission process. You are only a sum of those that came before you, correct? All right. This concept describes the transmission. This is good. The transmission of chronic anxiety from generation to generation. In every generation, the child most involved in the family's fusion, remember I was talking a minute ago, whoever's fused? The child involved mostly with the family's fusion moves towards a lower level of differentiation of self, aka possible chronic anxiety, other maladaptive reactions, while the least involved child moves toward a higher differentiation. Hello, I just had a realization.
Yeah, that was weird.
How far am I from my family?
Same.
3K miles. Right? And you're only 3 miles. But
no, when you said how far am I from my family, I didn't think you meant actual like distance.
Oh, well.
I just meant different.
Maybe that's a double entendre there. Distance and growth mindset,
differentiation,
all kinds of stuff, right?
Interesting.
Parents who anxiously intrude their concerns on their children leave them little choice but to conform or rebel. Think about it. Again, higher level of fusion, higher level of non-differentiated mindset of the parents trying to put all their stuff on their kid. No wonder they're going to have maladaptive reactions and whatnot. And sometimes the kid goes, okay, I don't know who the hell I am, or I hate you, Dad.
Yeah.
I'm not going to play football like you want me to. I'm not going to do this. And then they rebel.
That's so interesting.
And getting farther away, right? This I
must be nice to have a master's degree in marriage family therapy. Must be nice to be a man. Like women can't do that. That was funny. Anyway, keep on. I thought it'd be funny to say.
98% of the
I know. All the ladies are ladies.
We're female, right? So when these children leave home, they expect to become authors of their own lives. They're not going to turn out like their parents. Unfortunately, although many people fight against their inheritance, and it usually catches up with them. Boom, hello, family of origin. We cannot escape it. So what can we do? We can become very familiar with it, learn about it, and then learn how to navigate it for ourselves in a healthy way. So I think of multi-generational transmission process. We've talked a lot about like Indian country, historical trauma, generational trauma, stuff like that.
Indian country meaning Native American.
Yeah, Native stuff. And we are a product of all the awesome things that our parents, grandparents, family did, and also the things that they really struggled through, the things that they maybe failed at, the things that they hid, all this stuff. It all freaking matters, right? And the cool thing is you get to decide how you're going to deal with it.
Right.
Once you've learned about it.
I want to point out, I want to read that. Like, I had never really thought about that. Is that where did it go? The parent who anxiously intrude their concerns on their children leave them little choice but to conform or rebel. So think of that. Like if you're, and I'm saying this for moms or dads who may see this behavior now as it's been illuminated in this new like context. If you're like burdening your kid or kids with all of this stuff, you're like pinning them down and making them care about a thing that they don't care about. Or you're like putting anxiety on them that would never be there unless you were doing it, right? Like you're setting yourself up for failure. Like you're setting yourself up for a conflict.
Well, for failure and your kid for a failure. And of course we love our kids. We don't want to do that on purpose, right? But how do you fix stuff? You learn about it. You know, if you what is it?
If you knew better, you do better.
Exactamundo, presto, right? And I am thinking, dang it, what was? Oh, I'm thinking about a Bible verse that talks about like the sins of the father.
Say it like you're like a old Englishman.
An old Englishman.
Like it's a King James version. What's the verse? Say it King James style.
Oh, thus saith
the Lord.
Thus saith the Lord. The sins of the father, right? I don't know where that is. It's somewhere in the Bible, I think.
Is that just all it is? Is just 3 words?
No, it talks about like the sins of the father get passed down. And when I was young, I read that and go, oh, wait a minute. I have to pay a price because my dad did something? Great. You know
That's
what I'm saying?
Dumb.
But this is actually, okay, the sins, okay, not maybe like sins. I'm going to like the shortcomings, the anxieties, the maladaptive reactions of the father or the mother get passed down to the kid if we don't do stuff about it. And I'm thinking about a very particular person who has very high anxiety that seems to be just vomiting that anxiety on their kids and other people's kids all the time.
And what happens is that like that's inherited anxiety. I think the concept of like your children inherit your anxiety, they inherit your whatever. Like even if, you know, for example, like if your parent was an alcoholic, you as a child will inherit like all the just crap that comes along with that. Even if you never drank ever a day in your life, ever, not even once, you still will inherit all that. And that works also, of course, for whatever you're doing now as a parent, your children are going to inherit that. So that is a huge case and a great argument for like becoming as healthy and balanced as possible, and especially before you have children, right? But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think that's a powerful.
Okay. PSA reminder. When you hear all the stuff that we're talking about, look at yourself first, not straight at your spouse. Okay? Don't get mad at your spouse. Don't get mad at your kids. Don't get mad at your mom or dad or whoever. look at yourself first and go, oh, what am I perpetuating? What have I not looked at? What am I avoiding here? I make a commitment to work through it. What are you smiling at?
All I can think of when you said look at yourself first, not at your partner. Literally all of the people who used to grow up watching X-Men, I think it's Scott who wears the glasses, who Jean Grey is in love with. He takes his glasses off and it's like, zzz. I just imagine you taking your glasses off and your red eyes go.
Then you just kill somebody?
Yeah. you laser-eyed me.
Okay. Here's another term that you're going to learn more about in the genogram
Laser
episode.
eyes.
Laser eyes. Yeah. Laser eyes. This is a systemic family therapy term. Laser eyes.
Look
bad.
it up.
It's bad. Don't do it.
What's the
Most
term?
couples who laser eyes get divorced, so don't do that, okay?
Studies have found.
Okay, a concept that we will talk about in a future episode when we do the genogram work is emotional cutoff, right? And an emotional cutoff, I'll read this one too, describes the way people manage anxiety between generations. The greater the emotional fusion, again, going back to fusion, between parents and children, the greater likelihood of cutoff, right? Some people seek distance by moving away. What am I doing?
By moving 3,000
By
miles
moving from
away.
Greer, South Carolina to Maple Valley, Washington. What have I done? Oh, I'm sorry, Mom.
Okay. Oh, wow. Long reenactment there.
That was funny. I like doing that voice.
Good.
Anyway, some people seek distance by moving away. Others do so emotionally by avoiding personal conversations or insulting themselves with the presence of third parties or insulating themselves with the presence of third parties. Again, triangulation. Gosh, the more I read about this, it is all connected. So let me just say something. So emotional cutoff is a way to manage the anxiety of things that you haven't talked about with your mom, dad, grandma, auntie, uncle, right? So sometimes it's easier. Sometimes it's vital. If your family, sometimes people have toxic family members. Like, it is not safe to be around him or her. They just cut me down every time and make me feel garbage, terrible. I've tried all these things, so it is best for me to be like, thank you very much.
Right.
Out, done, over. And that is hard. That will affect you and your future relationships, right? But that is a way to manage the
You could
anxiety.
make it more fun if you did it like the Forged in Fire guy. This relationship is over.
It's over.
No, don't do that.
We got to get a meme of that guy.
Is over. But what is
Hashtag
his
it's not
name?
as good anymore.
What is
Season
his
2 is
name?
gone.
I like the new guy.
Will Wallace.
Will Willis is the old guy's name. But one of the things that makes me think of is one of our kids has an issue with his cousin. And there's reasons for it. There's there's some stuff going on that's not cool. But our kid was like, I'm just never going to talk to them again. And I said, I'm like, sweetheart, I know it feels that way. I know that that's what you want to do. But I was telling him, like, that is just a sign that you're not thinking of it like complexly enough. Like the more, so what was the definition that you just said?
Some people seek distance by moving. Well, hold on.
Yeah, no, that was right. Because you're saying that they can't handle the anxiety of it. That's what it was. Where did you read it?
I don't know.
But it was essentially saying like they can't handle the anxiety that comes with managing and dealing with it, like the conflictual nature of having to deal with this person behaves in a way that, man, it just doesn't sit well with me. But that doesn't mean I have to never speak to them again. You know, so it's pretty interesting if you start to look at it through that lens of like, well, I'm just never talking to them again. Like, what are you not doing on your side of the fence there that actually makes it worse? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like that would be an emotionally immature, way too soon emotional cutoff.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
Oh, this just isn't working. Boom. Okay, we're breaking up. Or, oh, I got a flat tire, so I need all brand new 4 tires.
And I will say too, like ending a relationship is not the exact same thing as an emotional cutoff. It's more like that abrupt. You know?
So again, all this is tied together. And then the last one is normal family development within the systemic family model. What is normie? What does normal family development look like? Of course, this is different because we're all different culturally. Everything, right?
Normie family development.
Normie. Optimal family development is thought to take place when family members are well differentiated, anxiety is low, and partners are in good emotional contact with their own families. Most people leave home in the midst of transforming relationships with their parents from an adolescent to adult basis. Thus, the transformation is usually incomplete, and most of us, even as adults, continue to react with adolescent sensitivity to our parents or anyone else who pushes the same buttons.
Interesting.
That is really interesting because my dad doesn't listen to the show, so it's fine.
Doesn't know what podcasts are, so it's fine.
Nope. But I see his interactions with other family members who he grew up with. And sometimes I'm just like, what is this? What is going on? Right. And then I see that played out with me and I can react. I mean, I can think of several times where we've gone back home, right? This is probably 5 years ago and just like huge arguments. You know, I'm like, I swear I must be 15 again, trying to like find my own way. And it's just crazy, right? And that is because I believe the same thing happened to my dad when he was younger, right? He didn't get a chance to work on it. He didn't go to grad school. He didn't have podcasts. He didn't listen to books on tape, right? So I have done some work that he wasn't able to. It's like you saying, I think maybe it's a future episode. I don't know. So now I'm going backwards. Yeah. It's like your mom has said, hey, you know, when we were growing up, or when we were parents, you know, when you were like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, they did not have the resources that we have now, thus making it much more difficult, right? Yeah. So we can't blame our parents and get mad. If they knew better, they would have done better, right? And then when you know, to know and not do is to not know, right? So I'm a fierce advocate and proponent of, I believe most people do the best they can with what they have at the time that they have it. What are you smiling at?
I thought, okay. You know, Beyonce had an album called Sasha Fierce.
Yes,
you said the word fierce.
Yeah.
So word associations all day. Sasha Fierce came into my head.
The music comes in your head.
Nope. Then I thought of Callie calling you Zesty. So Zesty Fierce. Seth is Zesty Fierce.
Is that
Seth's nickname is Zesty, by the way.
Is that given by one of Melanie's friends and mastermind members?
Listen, it's how it works, man.
It's a good.
Say it again, Zesty. What were you saying?
I don't remember.
You don't point out when I laugh or smile because it's never going to be logical or helpful.
But it's fun. I like it when you smile. I like it when you laugh.
If you're okay with being derailed intentionally, because you asked.
I think we both do that to each other.
Hold on. So you said, read it again. Read what you read again.
Normal family development?
Yeah, the end part of it I thought was interesting.
Okay. So thus the transformation is usually incomplete, thinking about adolescent to adult relationships. And we can continue to react with adolescent sensitivity to our parents or anyone else who pushes the same buttons. Again, if I have things that didn't get figured out with my mom or dad or biological family or whoever, guess where that's going to show up, people? Right here. Right the dang F here. I don't even know what that means. You see what I'm saying? So this is just another reason why this stuff is so important. I, as a therapist, find it fascinating. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this. And it's like sometimes, Iron Man, when Iron Man is in his like layer of lab
science
coolness, and he's talking to Jarvis, and he's like getting this piece on his computer screen. He's going here and
which
blowing
you'll
this
soon
up.
be able to do with Google Glass.
Probably can already. No, Apple Glass.
There's both of them.
Mac Glass. Anyway, sometimes I feel like learning more about this stuff, relearning, reading about it, being steeped in it. It's like I just can see, oh, yes, here's a puzzle piece. Here it is. That's why Melanie does that. Okay, am I going to react or respond to it? I would rather respond to it with education, with grace, with love, and then work through it and not avoid it and not perpetuate anything that I don't want in my family of origin, me, you, our 3 kids. I'm not going to perpetuate that anymore. So how do I do it? Learn about it, work on it, talk about it, think about it, pray about it, journal about it, all kinds of stuff. And that is why this work is so important. So I really hope that this is helpful. That's all I got for you. Genograms, we have a whole episode on genograms, so I'm not going to get into that as much. That's a fun episode. We've already done it. And think about a genogram as a family tree.
We've done it, but it doesn't come out. It comes out soon.
Yeah.
It hasn't been published yet. But
yeah.
I do want to say one of the things that you said made me think of this, that sometimes when we are on a journey to learn new things and maybe we share stuff with our spouse or whatever, what tends to happen is that you hear this new information and think in a deficit mindset, like, well, I'm not that, so blah. Or, well,
That's a great
I didn't
point.
grow up like this, so, like, and you apparently you just make noises that sound mad. But what I would encourage you to do is to look, hear what we're saying, think of the points, the triangulation, the nuclear family emotional process concepts, all of the things, and ask yourself what it would look like if it were different. So don't like get pissed and like start pointing fingers and slinging the gravy and being mad, right? None of that. We're not getting angry and fighting about these things. We're inviting a new relationship with them. And what would it look like if I had balance here? What would it look like if I could stop triangulating with my kid or whatever that look, whatever. Because once we start having curiosity around it, then we can begin to grow in these things. If we have sort of a rigid idea that my partner bringing this information to me is somehow offensive, that they're trying to change me, that they're like this a-hole and that they blah, like if we have that energy around it, one, you're not going to grow. Two, you're going to push yourself farther away from your partner, like by default. And three, you're going to just make it so that your children inherit your problems and then they have to figure them out. Right? So think about that. That's a really weird way of putting it. Like and I'm just going to say this again because your dad doesn't listen. I guess we talk about my dad too. He doesn't listen. But like had Seth's dad maybe figured some of these things out, Seth would not have to be burdened by them. You know what I mean? Like it's that simple in a lot of ways.
And our kids may say the same things to us.
Oh, for sure.
Had mom done this, then I wouldn't have done this. Had dad been more patient, kind, loving, whatever, I wouldn't have had to do this. And hopefully there will be grace and love all around it and understanding. And yeah, it's not like, our parents were messed up and we think we're so great. I guarantee you that, we've messed up 1,000 times with our kids, me a lot, probably more than you. And they can say that too. But if it's wrapped in love, grace, understanding, then that is an opportunity for us to grow our relationship even closer.
I think also sort of putting the icing on the cake for this as well is that because we talk about these things all the time, it makes it easier to have these conversations with our children. So I encourage you, even if you find it challenging to talk about, maybe even nuclear family emotional process might be really challenging to talk about, like how your family deals with stuff. That might feel really scary and challenging and hard, and I don't want to talk about it and whatever. But I encourage you, the more that you can have these conversations well together, and then especially have your kids like see you communicating about things like emotional processing and whatever, it's gonna, I want to say, it's like the lubricant of being able to have these conversations down the line, as your kids get older, as they become teenagers or have their own families or whatever.
You're normalizing it. The more comfortable you are with something, clearly,
right,
we can posit that the more comfortable you will be talking to others about it, thinking about it, sharing about it, having conversations, doing the work on it. And parents, all you parents out there, you guys, us included, are creating your children's family of origin right now. Right now.
And
how you eat supper tonight, how you wake them up for school in the morning, how you do bedtime, how you everything.
It's like the habit tracker of life. Like you're just every time you
that's a good way to
scream at your kid, you're just I've built in that habit. Called them an idiot, built in that habit.
That is such
someone
a
that I know. I'm not going to say who it is, but maybe we wait for the bus sometimes with this person. Called their kid like an effer in front of them, and their kid is little. And I was like, man, that's not ideal. And this happened more than once. And I was like, that really sucks for that kid is going to grow up being called that.
And possibly she was called that too.
Of course. How did you know it was a woman though? I didn't say it was a woman. So that's you.
Well, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, the whole world does. But I also want to say right before we go that we do hear from clients sometimes that this stuff is hard to talk about, and especially our male clients, sometimes they really struggle with like wanting to get into deeper emotional stuff and talk about these things that are hurtful, like cutoffs and being, having your parents treat you poorly. I encourage you, men, again, if you find that you're really cut off to this stuff, I encourage you to feel the feelings, talk it through, allow yourself to like step into this space. Because if you can never cry about it and you can never have those conversations, you're just going to hand it down to your kids to have to deal with. So I don't know if that's like helpful. I don't know. You are allowed to have feelings. You're allowed to be sad. You're allowed to have complex feelings about all
That's
of
right.
these things. I just want to like put that caveat in there. You don't need to be like black and white about it. You can have a plethora of feelings.
And if you need help, go to anatomyofus.com. Click on the groups. You can join Badass Husband Mastermind with me.
Oh yeah, Doy. We're talking about all this stuff in all of November. I mean, it's so exciting already. The man, today the question, because we have a
Hold
daily
on, the
prompt
question in what?
in women's group coaching.
Women's group coaching.
The prompt for FOOvember was, what was an invisible rule in your household? And the responses were amazing. Like, women can't stay out. Like, if you're a girl, you have to come. Your curfew must be earlier. Or women don't use table saws. Or if mom's not happy, everybody should like hide.
Right.
Like, it's so fascinating.
So see how those are related to the family emotional process?
Yep.
Right? Oh, if mom's mad, somebody's not differentiated, somebody
Yeah.
might be fused. They're all kinds of stuff,
It's
right?
really fascinating. So
So-
if you want to dive deeper into your family of origin, I encourage you to go to anatomyofus.com and sign up for our groups, Badass Husband Mastermind and Women's Group Coaching. Hope to see you there. Have a wonderful rest of your day and send your FOOvember questions in. You can DM us or send them into hello@anatomyofus.com. Or no, hello
Yep,
at
that's correct.
anatomymarriage.com. Oh, who cares? Whatever. Send the
Anatomyofus.com.
questions
Yeah.
to us. We love you. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Anatomy of Us. This podcast is produced by my mom, Melanie Studley, and hosted by my dad, Seth Studley. Our show is edited and published by our producer, Reva Hansen, from Creative Media Support. Special thanks to our Patreon members that get an extra episode every week. Thanks for watching. Love you. Bye.